Hi everybody, it's time for a weight loss update. I think the last update that I had was back a few weeks ago. And I think at that time I had been down about 77 pounds. So it's been a few more weeks, time to do an update. So my last weigh-in, I think on August 3rd was 195.8 and today's weigh-in was 188.8. So that's a total of 7 more pounds down in the last 3 weeks. The first week I went from 195.8 to 193.2, which was a loss of 2.6. The next week was 193.2 to 189.6, which was 3.6 lost. And then this past week was pretty small, just 189.6 to 188.8, for a total this week of 0.8 pounds lost. Again, that puts my total for the last 3 weeks at 7 pounds lost, and my new total is now 84.4 pounds down. This past week was kind of rough for me. I did a weight training workout on Sunday, nothing crazy. It was just biceps and triceps and really wasn't even that big of a workout, but I'll tell you, I felt sore, I felt swollen, I felt exhausted for about 3 to 4 days afterwards. I was retaining water, and I just felt rough. So I don't know if it was a coincidence or if it was, that the weight training workout was just too much for me or something. So I think that was part of the smaller loss this week. Also, I had thought that I was coming down with a UTI, so I started taking my favorite supplement for that, and it did seem to help with that. I don't think that I have a UTI, and if I did, I think it's gone. So I think that helped me, but I wonder, I wonder if that had anything to do with it. I don't take that supplement very often, and you never know how things can affect you. So that's possible. And then I've had a migraine since Friday. Finally, I think it's gone. But I also had to take my migraine medicine for a couple of days in a row. And again, I know that supposedly affects blood pressure, so who knows what else it affects. So probably responsible for the smaller loss this week. I didn't do anything else different. I didn't change what I was eating or anything like that. So I don't think that has anything to do with it. But overall, that's still a great rate of weight loss. I'm perfectly happy with that. I had my follow-up with my physician assistant who works with my obesity doctor this week, and he was very pleased with my progress so far. We're going to stay, I'm on 7.5 milligrams for now, and that seems to be really working very well for me overall in terms of weight loss and appetite suppression and, food noise and all of that. That's all really well controlled. And that's all going good. So we're going to stay on 7.5 milligrams for now. We can go up anytime. Obviously, I like to stay on whatever dose I'm on as long as I'm getting good weight loss, and in particular, if I'm getting good appetite suppression. If that changes at any point in time, if the food noise starts coming back or the weight loss starts slowing down, I'm not opposed to going up to 10 milligrams. And the doctor said, I've been on 7.5 now for a couple of months. So as long as you do 4 shots at any dose, you technically can go up. That's kind of the guideline by Eli Lilly. So we're good. We're good from that perspective. Things are going fine food-wise. I'm not necessarily thinking about changing anything. I'm still currently eating a carnivore diet at the moment, and it's working pretty well for me, I guess. I'm not opposed to changing that at some point in time in the future. I'm not necessarily thinking I'm going to be carnivore forever. But for now, that's definitely seems to be working fine. I'm happy with my rate of weight loss. I'm happy with my appetite suppression and all that kind of stuff. So I don't see any reason to change it. Again, that might be something that I would consider trying to change up if I hit a stall or a plateau or something like that, playing around with adding carbs, certain types of carbs, once or twice a week or something like that. Might be something that I would consider doing, but at the moment, I'm happy with that. I think I'm going to keep weight training to kind of a minimum. It really seems to inflame me. I mean, I know it's very important, and I definitely plan on incorporating it more into my life, in the future. I know it's very important for, strength and longevity and, being independent as you get older and bone health and everything. So I know that it's critical. I don't know what's going on with me, but every time I try to do a weight training workout, it just knocks me on my ass, for days and days and days. And it just doesn't seem normal to me. So I don't know if it's because I'm dealing with some level of inflammation still or what it is. But I mean, to me, I can't live like that. I have a job, I have work that I have to do. I have to be able to, to get up and go to work every day. And, if I feel like I need to go to bed at 7:30 at night every night and I barely can drag myself out of bed, something is off with that. So I'll keep trying. It may be just that over time, slowly building up to it, maybe I can do it, but I don't think I'm going to do any weight training any more than maybe 1 day a week. And I'm going to keep it pretty light. I like to do walking. One thing that has really worked for me this whole time has been just gentle walking. I like to do around my neighborhood. It's not very far. It's probably, it's like a little over a mile to go all the way around my neighborhood. So I'll do that on weekends. I like to go in the morning. We're in Florida here, and it is hot during the midday and afternoon. So I don't do afternoon walks very much. So I like to do that in the morning, but I do work at an office during the weekdays. So I don't get a whole walk like that. But what I have been implementing for a while now, probably the last couple of months, is after lunch, I take a quick break and I go outside after my lunch and I just walk a gentle pace for about 10 minutes. It's really good to get a light break, is something that I've been learning, to get natural light on your skin and in your eyes, and to get away from all the blue light and fluorescence and computer screens and phones and all that kind of stuff, and actually just get some real natural sunlight on your skin and in your eyes. And then I've also heard that walking after meals kind of helps to make sure that any insulin or blood sugar spike that you might get from that, it kind of reduces that right away. So you're going to have insulin stick around less in your system. That's one of the key things that I've been working on throughout this whole journey, is really trying to lower my insulin. It's come to my awareness that insulin plays a huge role in regulating how and whether you burn fat, which obviously is critical for any weight loss attempt. So anything that I can do to try to minimize insulin spikes and things like that, and to kind of keep my insulin as low as I can, that's what I've been focusing on. I'm sure that there are other ways to do that other than what I've been doing, which I've been trying to do a ketogenic diet so that I'm pretty much keeping my insulin as low as I possibly can, as much as I possibly can. I never had my resting or my fasting insulin tested ever, but I suspect, just based on my history of obesity and everything that I've been through in my life, that that I have something called hyperinsulinemia, which is just a fancy way of saying that my insulin is high all the time. And, part of that is genetically driven. Part of that is a lifestyle and a diet where, I would eat tons and tons and tons of processed food and carbs all the time. And, and I would eat frequently. So, I would definitely, before I started this weight loss process, and really probably most of my life when I'm not dieting, my natural tendency would be, to have breakfast and lunch and then a snack and then dinner and then another snack. And of course, my snacks are going to be, I gravitate towards high carb things. So, I really like chips or crackers and things like that. And also, usually paired with some kind of fat as well. So it's kind of like the carb fat combo that I think is pretty unhealthy in general, especially when those things are coming from processed foods, which again, when left to my own devices, that's what I crave. I don't crave an apple. I don't crave carrots. I don't crave carrot sticks or lettuce or whatever. When I'm hungry, when I'm craving, what I'm craving is something high carb and high fat. So not so much the sweets. That's not necessarily been my issue too much. I think I normally crave things like Doritos and crackers and Cheez-Its, and those are some of my go-to snacks that I would really get into. And alcohol too. I used to be a big connoisseur of cocktails any day of the week, and all kinds of different ingredients in there, including syrups to make them sweet and everything like that. So those were my go-tos in the past, and obviously those are full of carbohydrates. So what I understand now is that a lot of snacking, especially those types of snacks, are going to obviously have a huge insulin spike. And then if you're eating every couple of hours, which I was for the most part, your insulin never really has a chance to come down. So it's just up all the time. And what I've learned about insulin is that it is the storage hormone. And so when that's circulating in your blood, it's just trying to pull glucose out of your bloodstream, and it's going to put it wherever it can. So, obviously high blood sugar is dangerous for us and causes all kinds of problems. And so having the insulin, driving that into storage is good in a way, because it protects me from the damages of high blood sugar. But obviously it has to go somewhere. So it's being stored as fat all of the time. And what I understand now is if you always have insulin at a high level and you never really give it a chance to drop down, then you're always in fat storage mode. And it's not impossible to lose fat if you're eating that way, but it just makes it an awful lot harder. So, one of the reasons that I started eating a ketogenic diet was because obviously the less carbohydrates that you're putting in, the less insulin you're going to be pumping into your blood, and the more potential fat burning there is. And even though I didn't really see a difference in terms of the rate of weight loss when I went to a ketogenic / carnivore diet, it had always been about 1 to 2 pounds per week, whether I was just eating more of like a moderate diet, everything in moderation, carbs, fats, proteins, kind of in balance. I was doing that for a few months, since I started. And I really didn't switch to carnivore because of any kind of wanting to lose more weight or faster. It was more about insulin. I mean, I really just wanted to avoid anything that was going to continue to spike my insulin. I really wanted to improve naturally, not just with the medication. The medication does help insulin sensitivity and improve that, but I also wanted to just lower my insulin overall, so that at some point in time, if I do lower my dose or someday try to go off of the dose, my body might naturally now have a lower amount of insulin, which should make maintenance easier. Because if you don't address the insulin and you try to stop the medication, you no longer have that medicine kind of like interfering with insulin signaling, which insulin is going to tell you, hey, like, we're hungry. We don't have enough blood sugar anymore. Like, look, the blood sugar went down. We need to resolve that. Now we need to bring some more food in. So insulin gives your brain a signal that it's hungry, even when you don't need any more fuel at all. And so I think that may be part of why people do gain weight back when they stop the medication, because just dieting and just taking the medicine itself doesn't really necessarily improve your natural insulin levels. And so that was primarily why I started a ketogenic diet in the first place. So in terms of overall weight loss, that hasn't really sped up my weight loss at all. I'm just doing it more for the perspective or for the purpose of lowering my insulin for the future. And so that's kind of why I'm doing that. I have seen on social media other people who have said that, once you kind of get to a certain place metabolically and your insulin is lower and things like that, then you can start to add carbohydrates back in and you don't necessarily have the same effect. So your body can actually handle it when you have carbohydrates with meals and things like that. So someday that's kind of where I hope to be. I don't necessarily intend to live my whole entire life as a keto or carnivore, but I just want to make sure that I get to the point where my insulin is low. I don't know. I should probably ask my doctor for blood work so that I can test my insulin and see if it looks like it's at a place where I have fixed it. But I haven't really had that conversation with my doctor yet. She's not necessarily into, she's not supportive of my ketogenic diet, but she's not an advocate of a ketogenic diet. So I don't think that she's really a believer in that. So I don't know. I may bring that up one of the times or not. I have heard that you can order your own labs. I think there's something called ownyourlabs.com. I haven't looked into it. I don't even know if that's what it's called, but I think it is, where you can pay out of pocket for whatever labs you want, and you just go to, I don't know if it's Quest or if it's LabCorp or whatever, and you're like, hey, I want this test done. And as long as you're willing to pay for it, they'll do it and they'll give you the results. So that's another option that I might look into in the future as well. So moving forward, I'm going to keep going with my carnivore diet for now. I'm going to do maybe 1 day of lightweight training a week, and then I'm going to keep to my walking schedule, because it really seems like that actually does seem like it has helped. I did implement the walks after lunch as part of kind of a bigger change that I made to my overall plan back in June, and I am going to do a kind of a separate video on that because there's a few different steps, but one of them was walking at lunchtime, and it seems to have kind of helped, and it really does help, at work, getting out of the work office environment, getting some sunshine and things like that. So I highly recommend it. If you've never tried it, go for a walk after one of your meals, particularly if you're going to have one meal a day that has more carbohydrates than another one, to help your insulin sensitivity. Go for a walk. It doesn't have to be for very long. It doesn't have to be intense. You can use a walking pad, or I think you can even just do like some minor exercise, like if you want to do 10 air squats, or if you want to do a few sit-ups and push-ups or whatever, get on your rebounder or something like that for 5 to 10 minutes. I think any of those things would work. So try doing a little bit of light exercise after one of your meals, particularly if you have one that has more carbohydrates than others, and see if that makes a difference in your weight loss, or at least in how you feel. All right, so that's my update for now. I'll probably try to do these on a more regular basis, maybe a weekly basis from now on. But I had a lot going on the last few weeks. So I will check back in with you later and we'll see how things are going. I hope you guys are having a great week. And if you have any questions for me about anything that I talked about, or just feel free to say, hey, drop me a little comment, okay? Have a great day.